Many of you were lucky enough to see a few flakes today as snow showers with an upper trough moved on through and lake effect snows going on around the Great Lakes. Our cold weather will continue in the eastern U.S. into Thursday morning before we bounce up, and then we've got some rain chances as we move through the weekend. And we're going to tell you all about it right here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by our affiliate Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. It's an ideal gift if you've got science-minded youngsters, especially if you've got meteorology-minded youngsters. You can get them the Tempest by WeatherFlow. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you do decide to make a purchase of this or anything else on the Tempest website, use the coupon code I want a weather station, because if you do, Joe Rayo, only you can tell them what they get.
They're going to get 10 big % off whatever they purchase from Tempest, and that's a very good idea. I wish when I won't speak for you, Joe, but I wish when I was 14 or 16 years old that Tempest was around. I could have used one of those weather stations. I had to, as I mentioned last week, I had to, build a weather station from scratch using like a tin can and.
Yeah, I did the same thing
from Edmund Scientific, which was a pretty good company, but I'll take
it. It was a primitive time. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
A very primitive time. Did you get any snow showers today?
I did. It lasted all of 5 minutes, and it put down only on my deck a slight coating of snow grains. I won't even call them. I won't even say it was grapple. It was like very tiny little grains of snow that it speckled the brown wood on my deck. And during the time also that the snow was coming down, the wind was blowing pretty hard, like 30, 35 miles per hour. I was going to go out and at the request of the executive producer, we have these little seeds from the maple trees. We call them the pollywogs.
Right, they helicopter down.
A helicopter thing. And I said, okay, I'll get out and, brush or broom these off. And then the winds came and everything is blowing every which way. And I said, yeah, I'm going out right now.
I'm surprised I'm surprised she didn't make you go out and put the Christmas lights up today.
Please, I made the request weeks ago when it was like near 70. I said, we ought to put up the lights. No, it's too early. And to me, I said, so who cares if it's early? I'm not going to turn the lights on now in early October, but at least they'll be up and they'll be there and I'm not freezing to death or whatever like that. No, she prefers to wait until it's nice and cold out there.
Put them up. Should have just put them up. Just put them up.
Yeah.
When you had the opportunity, just put them up. All right. It's snowing in Syracuse, and I've got the Armory Square camera, which is it's snowing pretty hard here at the Armory Cam, Joe. Look at that.
Well, it's Syracuse. What do you expect?
No, I understand, but this is. It looks like they got it a few inches on the ground at least. I pulled this up by the way, I pulled this up around 1:00, and the roads were wet. There was white on the car top. So I guess once we got past sundown, and of course they do have a heavy band that's going through now. But that really does look pretty, doesn't it?
It does, and I think they get the snow lake effects are sometimes accentuated by whatever they get off of the Finger Lakes, which they are also in alignment with. Now, this is one guy going to try to make the turn. Hey, he made a pretty good turn around the curb there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, there is a stop sign. I think that's a stop sign over there. He may have blown the stop sign when he made the turn.
And now who's going to stop him?
Well, that's true.
All of a sudden you'll see the red lights and blue lights flashing right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I guess everybody at least got. If you can't see snow where you are, then you know what? The Joe and Joe Weather Show always does its level best to bring the snow to you, which is what we've just done. So there. And how well I didn't. How warm did it get today? Did it break 40? I gotta. I'm not sure. I gotta check. I don't know if it broke 40
It
today
did
here.
break 40 here.
It was cold. I
It
mean,
did
it,
get up.
it, it was cold
It was,
and it got windy again. It was not easy to be outside. I think it did get above 40. I'm 31 now, and the forecast lows here are probably down around, oh, I don't know, 18, 19 by tomorrow morning.
well, I think here in the Hudson Valley, we're going to be down in the mid and low 20s. So it'll be an unseasonably cold night tonight. And it's going to be a bright day tomorrow, lots and lots of sunshine. Unfortunately, temperatures are going to struggle to crack 38 degrees. So still too cold. Warming up later on in the week, though, Thursday and Friday. And by later Friday, we'll get into a little bit of precipitation.
Welcome to everybody tonight on the chat board, and those of you who are watching in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. We are on usually Sunday through Thursdays at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's a storm around, and if we decide to do a show, well, we'll certainly let you know about it ahead of time. We're also been letting you know ahead of time that tonight is the last show of this week, and we won't be back until Sunday at the earliest. And I just put that asterisk there for Sunday because I'm planning to drive back and be home on time for a 7:35 p.m. show, but there's always the outside chance that I'm running. Well, I don't think I'll be running late. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll be home on time, but you never know with traffic or when you get down far enough south and you start to go on one lane roads, all it takes is for one car or a truck to have a problem, and you could be sitting there for a while. But I'm gonna try to make it back on time for a Sunday night show. Also, those of you who use my websites on a daily basis or on the occasional basis, meteorologistjoecioffi.com or weatherlongisland.com or Angry Ben's site, nycweathernow.com. All three of them have been down since Sunday, and hopefully they will be back sometime in the next couple of hours. Server attacks on Thanksgiving weekend from some foreign entity, not onto my site specifically, but on the host company. So all the websites they manage went down. So hopefully everything will be back up and running in a couple of hours. So there's that. Cold air. We've been trying to point out the differences between last winter, going into last winter and this winter, and we seem to be getting these regular deliveries of cold air, even though they are, they come in, they last for a couple of days, and then they pull out. But they are followed by other shots of cold air. So I would say, and this particular air mass is pretty cold for this time of year. I certainly would continue to say, to write on this theme, that we are in a far different place than we were a year ago.
Right. The script is certainly a lot different. And hopefully that will mean for all of you snow lovers who last year didn't see all that much to get excited about, that maybe, just maybe, we'll see some excitement this year. I know that generally speaking, we've been talking about this now for the past month or so, that the supposed super El Nino is pretty much going to have the air let out of it by the time we get to early December, and it will, at least in many different sectors, stating that it will weaken so quickly and so rapidly that by January and February, that much weakened El Nino is actually going to help to set the stage for some rather stormy and possibly wintry weather. So even though NOAA just arbitrarily said, okay, get the El Nino map out, and this is what we're going to get, above normal and more rain than snow, it doesn't look like it's going to work out that way if indeed the El Nino that we're looking at does start to shrivel up a bit in the next few weeks and weaken. That could mean some exciting times for all of you again who are winter weather lovers, which again didn't really have all that much to write home about last year, but this year again we're kicking things off in a different way, a different manner, a different script, and hopefully for all of you who like that kind of weather, this will mean some excitement for you in the coming weeks and months.
Well, you bring up the El Nino, and it was Joe and I seldom, if ever, talk about what we're going to do on the show. We just, pretty much uh, fly by the seat of our pants when we do this. But I happened to I was looking at the El Nino. I was looking at the Pacific sea surface temperature anomalies, and I also talked to Dave Tolerus earlier today. We were talking about this. So I'm going to bring this map up, and this was from a couple of weeks ago, right at about the point that the El Nino was at
hysteria.
Well, the ocean water temperature departure was 2.1 degrees above normal. So, however the Weather Service calculates it, 2.06 was the number that they came up with. So that would classify it as a moderate El Nino at the point that it was 206. And this was a couple of weeks ago. That has turned out to be the high reading because just about a week or so ago, it was down to 1.76. And it's bounced back up to about 1.9. But that 2.06 peak stands as the peak at the moment. And this was the map, what it looked like a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the fact that there was that cold pool that was from Hawaii back up toward Baja California, another little cold pool up in the Northeast Pacific, and much of the Pacific Ocean being warmer than normal temperature-wise. Well, this is what it looked like yesterday. And I'm just kind of doing this eyeball, Joe, from the map I just had to what I put up now. This certainly does not look like it's stronger than it was a couple of weeks ago. Just on an eyeball view. And the cold pool's gotten a little smaller south of Hawaii. It was extended a little bit west of Hawaii, so it's gotten a little smaller, but it's still relatively robust going eastward to off the coast of Baja California, where waters have warmed up there, but they have to go a little bit offshore. But the bottom line is that cold pool is up there, and I think that cold pool is really important because I think that's what has kept this El Nino from getting too far out of control. And you also have, by the way, a cold pool up in the Northeast Pacific Ocean that has gotten a little bigger in terms of the geography, but it hasn't really gotten any more intense. The rest of the Pacific looks the same. It's all above normal temperature-wise, going all the way up to the Bering Sea. But my point is that unless we suddenly start to see some higher readings coming up in the next week or two, we may be at the peak, or we may have already hit the peak of this El Nino. I'm not an El Nino expert. I could be wrong. I know that the European model was its El Nino forecast, which I saw back about a week or so ago, had the peak happening right around this time, and then starting a fairly rapid decline after the first week of December, extending into the month of February. So right now, I'm thinking like you, Joe. I think, the idea that this El Nino is not going to get much beyond what it already is stands fairly strong in my mind.
Right, and it's kind of amazing to me that the people at the Climate Prediction Center, who, the people who work there are experts in long-range forecasting, and they just arbitrarily, it seemed, went with an El Nino. I mean, they've been saying that there's going to be a better, I think, than a 60% chance that the El Nino is going to still stay with us right on into the spring. And then you've got people like, again, Bill Kirk over at Weather Trends 360, and Dave Tolerus, and and a few others who've been saying no, it's going to peak. By the time we get to late November, early December, it's going to be pretty well at its peak or reach its pinnacle, and after that, it's going to shrivel up or diminish considerably. And I'll tell you right now, from what Joe has just showed us, folks, that seems to be what apparently is what we're headed for. And
Yeah.
that's good news if you are, again, a winter weather buff, because, while moderate and especially strong El Ninos here in this part of the country usually means unusually mild and also more wet than white precipitation, weak El Ninos have had a tendency to produce, quite a bit more in the way of snow and colder weather. And
But
who knows?
I still think we're still seeing things that we shouldn't be seeing in an El Nino pattern, I still think that we're going to see odd, just like last year. We're going to see strange things occur. I just feel it.
And then you and I will sit here one night and we'll say something like, together we've been doing this, for 80 years or more. But we've never seen something like this before. I mean, when was the last time we saw? And then we get into the specifics or whatever, and say, we never saw this. that's you never know in weather. Sometimes things happen,
And sometimes they don't. So
yeah.
and that's the way it goes. All right, on the satellite loop, let me give this a quick refresh. Oh, I'm just noticing something here. It's just really weird. Take a look in Lake Michigan. We'll let the loop go. Well, I'll let it come back. That's got to go back to the visible, the first frame. All the frames are loading, so it's loaded up, and it just was weird. Oh, okay, it's gone. Never mind. But you can still see there's some of the on the infrared, you can see clouds that are coming northwest to southeast off Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and we are seeing some lake effect snows there. Looks like the activity that was over the coastal plain seems to have diminished some. Clouds in central and south Florida. Mostly sunny skies was the story today across the middle and southeast and mid-Atlantic and southeast, back across the Gulf states, and then on up through the northern plains. We've got some clouds up in patches of clouds in the Rockies and in the Pacific Northwest. On the radar, just give this, that was from earlier on that first. No, there's still, most of the speckled stuff is gone now. But you can see the activity. Yesterday, Joe, the activity was going west to east across Lake Ontario into north central New York, and the same for Lake Erie. But those winds have turned more northwest, which is what's driving more of the echoes now southeastward towards Syracuse, toward I-81, and now looks like the edge of the radar echoes reaching the western Catskills. But all the speckled stuff that was on the radar being caused by the upper trough, that's pretty much gone now, and I think that's done.
And Tom Contino pointing out that Tom Niziol, and Tom Niziol, for a good number of years was a consultant over at the Weather Channel, winter weather expert at the Weather Channel. That's he recently has retired. And after a 32-year career as a forecaster, science and operations, and he's still apparently making observations, I guess now on LinkedIn and also Facebook. According to Tom Contino, he says that Tom Niziol is very concerned, Joe, this winter about a southern storm track. Well, if there's a southern storm track, that could possibly bring storms up along the East Coast. Maybe we'll see more than our fair share of coastal storms or nor'easters. And of course, if it's cold enough, there you go. There's your snowy winter. But still early in the morning. We're not even out of November yet, so we'll
No,
see.
but we've been seeing these. We've been seeing these systems that have been coming out of the southwest and popping redevelopment nearby, and that's been what we haven't had many of them, but we have seen a few of them from the second half of October on. So I just kind of think, I think the atmosphere is doing whatever it needs to do ahead of time in order to prime for wherever we're going for the winter. I don't know where it is, but I mean, I'm just, from what I'm seeing here, uh, air masses coming down one after another was something that we just never really saw last year. We saw one big Arctic dump at Christmas time. We saw another
Right.
big right. Then we saw another big Arctic dump at the beginning of February. Both of them lasted a couple of days at most, and then it pulled out and warmed up into the 50s. I don't think we're seeing that here. And by the way, when I say warm up into the 50s, we're talking where temperatures are starting would run about 10 degrees above normal. So if that were happening now, we should be heading up into the 60s, and that's not really happening. I'm not
Right.
talking about for one day. I'm talking about you could always have some sort of odd cold front that and a southerly flow that pulls the temperatures up for a brief time. That's fine, but then just once the front goes by, you cool back down to normal or go below normal. That's what we're seeing this year that we didn't see last year. So, this is to me a time where you just kind of look to see how things are, what's trying to happen, where are things trying to set up, and you know, definitely different than last year. And I think we said this yesterday. The Pacific is far different than what it is. No sign of a fire hose. So as long as we don't get that Tokyo to San Francisco fire hose, um, we'll take. I could take my chances with anything else.
Well, also 3 years ago, I think we had on the 15th of December, we had something like a 10 or 15-inch snowfall
Yeah.
in the tri-state area. And then came Christmas morning, and everybody looking for a white Christmas. All the snow was gone. Why? Because during the overnight hours, the temperatures soared into the 60s. We had dense fog, and dense fog is a snow eater. Not so much heavy rain, and we did have heavy rain that time too, but we had dense fog. The snow rapidly melted with the temperatures climbing into the 50s and 60s. So, I mean, even in those years, in the past few years where we've had wintry conditions and snowy conditions, they haven't lasted very long because, again, the warm air just surged in and pretty much took care of whatever occurred in terms of wintry precipitation.
By the way, parts of South Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania saw more snow today than they saw all of last winter.
That
I mean, that's not even. I'm not making that up. It's true. David Fuller hitting super chat earlier, and Izzy D just hit it a few minutes ago. Thanks you both for banging the tip jar on this Tuesday night. Radars are quiet. You've got to the west. We've got some snow that's moving across the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There's another upper trough that's moving southeastward there, and there's a nice solid patch of snow on the Canada side of Lake Superior, and also on the Michigan side of Lake Superior. Rainfall for the next 5 days, as we take a look, looks like a quarter of an inch in that darker green. The tenth to a quarter in that lighter green covers New England down to North Carolina, and then from South Carolina across the Gulf states and into the lower and middle Mississippi Valley, we're looking anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to as much as a few inches in southwest Louisiana and also in southern Alabama. Now, this is good. We've been starting to get these weather systems moving across the Gulf states, so that's sort of telling you that the southern part of the jet stream is more active than it has been, and was pretty much non-existent last year with everything out in the west. We've got big rains forecast for the west coast, Oregon, Washington into northwest California, several inches or more over the next 5 days, and also up in the northern Rockies. WPC did that map, and they also did the snowfall probability for the next 72 hours. And I'm just going to give this a quick refresh if it will cooperate, just to make sure we got the latest map up there, and I think we do. So some of the snowfalls in western New York and in northwest PA and up in north central New York, a lot of places getting a foot to a foot and a half. At least There's a high probability of an additional 2 inches, as indicated, in southwestern New York and also in north central New York. And if I jump it to 8, let's see what we got with 8. Nope, because we're coming, the snow activity is going to start to wind down late tonight and on Wednesday. There's a 50% probability there indicated on the east shores of Lake Ontario for this particular snow event. And then when we look up to the north, much of the snow that's being indicated here is, again, the upper peninsula, portions of the upper part of the lower peninsula, and out over the lakes and on the Canada side where you see higher probabilities of at least 2. And as we head out west, do we have anything out west to show? Let me widen it. Yeah, in the Cascades, running up and down the Cascades, Joe, high probability of 2. Also in the western part of Colorado, this is the probability of 8. So you've got 50% or higher up and down the Cascades, low probabilities in southwestern Colorado, and that just about covers that. So, where are we going?
I don't know. Where are we
Where
going?
are we going? So it seems like the pattern actually is on the busy. Let's call it on the busy side, because we do have several weather systems that models are picking up on that are coming. First off, we got to get rid of the cold air. The core of the cold air is overhead now. We'll start to see it it'll hold on tomorrow, but then tomorrow night and particularly into Thursday morning, after that, we should bounce on Thursday in the 40s. I think we'll probably reach upper 40s and low 50s on Friday, but here comes a low that moves out of the southern plains. And that's energy that's coming into Southern California that just sort of jumps around, and then suddenly it's pulling up stuff from the Gulf, and you see this rain area that spreads through the eastern Gulf states and the Mississippi Valley, the middle and lower, and this is good. This is great for them. It moves northeastward, so Friday looks like rain might get here, maybe Friday afternoon. Into Friday night, early Saturday morning, it's gone. And then we've got...
And it does not look like a big rainmaker. I mean, in fact, we may not get much more than a couple of tenths of an inch out of this next system coming for late Friday and Friday night.
Yeah. WPC's got a quarter, and I kind of go along with that. Snow coming into the northwest, so there's more energy that comes in there. So it's weird because one low the lead low just kind of weakens. It's like a piece of it goes out, and then a piece of it remains, and then there's another Gulf low that develops on Friday night and spreads rain into the southeast, and then starts to push it up the east coast so that we get into some more rain Sunday afternoon and evening, and then that goes out. And then as we move into Tuesday, as more energy, well, now it's kind of changed here. There's another front that comes through Monday with some showers, maybe some snow in elevated areas to the north. And then there's energy that dives down here. All the models have it in different ways, but there's energy that dives. As you see that low that's in northeast Kansas there, dives southeastward and actually gives me snow next Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, down the western North Carolina, western Virginia, and West Virginia. That's not a half bad looking trough, Joe. The problem is that it's, most of the development with the coastal low that pops out goes south and east and out. I mean, it does become a really strong storm when it goes offshore. But I was looking at this today, and the thing that crossed my mind is, since this is 192 hours out, and I think the chances of this are low, but there's always that, because you got this lead shortwave, and you see it here. This is the one from Monday. And then that kind of brings in colder air, and you've got this next trough that dives in. Now, the problem is it goes neutral right on the coast. So that would be something that would never get up here. But I was just wondering if there was a way that, if this trough were to be a little deeper and dive just a little bit, dig a little bit more, that maybe you get the trough axis to be a little bit further to the west. Could wind up to be a big surprise for somebody. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much suppression. But I just sort of caught my eye today with the way this evolved.
Yeah, and in fact, both models, the GFS and also the European, is sort of red flagging that period from around the 5th and 6th of December.
Hey, Joe, why don't we eavesdrop on the conversation?
Well, that's
sorry.
I normally turn the ringer down or off when.
Well, it could be like keeping up appearances. It could be the Chinese takeaway.
Yeah, it could be.
Go on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
As I was saying, that time frame, and we mentioned this last night, around the 5th of December, certainly looks like an active time frame, although it looks like right now a good bulk of whatever happens is going to sail just off to the south and east. Now, there's still plenty of time for it to curve back to the left and bring us some precip, but it looks like, Joe, that it would be more likely rain than snow, but it certainly looks like a cold pattern that's coming in behind it. So who's to say? Maybe rain changing to snow. I don't know. It's 192 hours out.
No, I understand. That's why I'm only talking about the upper air more than anything else. You would need to see this trough. This is at 198, so this is next Wednesday night. The trough axis is right on the coast. I mean, you really need to see it if it's back along the Appalachians where it gets that neutral tilt. Then we could be then we'll be having a different conversation. But if it's going to come in differently, I think what it will be where it comes in flatter and goes out as a much more of a minor system than anything, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I would agree. Tom Contino, by the way, is promoting the fact on the chat board that he feels, in his opinion, that the 1970s was a great decade for snow here in the New York metropolitan area. Excuse me. Is there any problem?
Well, with that, yeah, your memory is skewed, Tom.
That's right.
There were three. I mean, if you want to pick out winters, 76, 77 was brutally cold, but in terms of snow, it wasn't anything to stand out.
Right.
77, 78, yes. 78, 79, yeah, okay. The President's Day storm. So you had that, and you had 3 weeks of brutal cold that I don't think I've seen repeated since.
Right.
Where there was a stretch of days where we didn't even get above 20.
Incidentally, the President's Day storm, something like 16 inches of snow in New York and across Long Island. If I were living where I am right now, here in Putnam Valley, I might have gotten an inch or two.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a flake, not an ice pellet, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
Maybe I would have gotten an inch or two. That was basically you talk about a coastal system. That was a coastal system. And it was also a system in the President's Day storm that was somewhat unexpected. I mean, we kept watching and waiting and watching and waiting. And eventually, some even threw in the towel and said, we're not going to get anything. And then during the overnight hours of, I think it was February 18th into the 19th, Monday morning, President's Day, that's when everything went crazy. And suddenly we had
because the one model at the time, it wasn't until right before that I think it gave 4/100ths to LaGuardia, if I remember correctly. Right. And in fact, I also remember being with you when that Foose came out.
Yes.
We were
together.
Yes, we were together that night.
We were together. There was also Andy Gregorio, and I couldn't get much sleep. I slept over at the weather office that night, Sunday night, Monday morning, and here it's like 2:00 in the morning, and Andy was still up, and he's yelling, "Holy mackerel, Charlotte! 4 inches in 1 hour.
I know
Holy,
that those
I
were
mean,
those were great.
unbelievable.
Yeah, those were great obs. So just that we stand corrected statistically, the 70s were the third. At least this is only in New York City. Okay, you might come up with similar numbers elsewhere depending on where you look. In Eastern PA to Southern New England, but I'm just going to go by this one point. That is the New York City stats. The 1970s were the third least snowiest decade, going back to 1869. So you had so that's 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. So that's 3 decades, 10 decades for the 1900s. Then the last 2 decades. So what do we got there? 3, 10, and 2, right? 15.
Yeah.
So of those 15 decades, the 70s was the third least snowiest. The 80s was the second least snowiest. The 90s was the least snowiest. So if we wind up, we said this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this. If going forward for the rest of this decade, we wind up with just normal snowfall, or even a little bit below normal. The 90s were so far below normal because there were only 2 winters there that overproduced, and the rest of them severely underproduced. So when the 90s comes out of the normals, when they recalculate the normals in 2030, when the 90s come out, the 2020s come in. If the snowfall during the rest of this decade is reasonably close to normal, the New York City averages are going to go up again. They're going to go up to about 31 or 32. So,
Right.
So there you go. Michael McGuire hitting a super chat tonight. Hope all is well. Thank you. It is, and hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Joe Rayo, you were right from 2 weeks ago about the Kona low.
Oh yeah, that's that we were talking about how Hawaii was in desperate need of something because they were in like major drought conditions, and we looked ahead a week or two, and I noted that hey, there may be something, and whenever they have a disturbance that slows down or almost becomes stationary over or nearby to them, they refer to it as a Kona low, which is something that you see several times during the colder season, and apparently they do have something like that now. So and again, believe me, they needed something like that to at least moisten the ground and keep the dust down, because they have, ever since that disaster that they had on Maui in July, they really could use some moisture, and it looks like they've got it.
I'm going to prick the balloon. Okay, the balloon that a few people may be flying over the 384-hour, Joe. I don't know if you saw this.
The one on December 13th, 14th.
Right.
Yeah.
Now this system actually starts in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Okay, and then it's in the northeast Gulf, and there's also an upper trough and cold front that's coming through the eastern lakes. There's a big cold high that's dropping down from Lake Winnipeg. Low is off the South Carolina coast at 348 hours. It's 1,001. Rain up to New York City, and then of course the low explodes. So by the time we get to 360 hours, there's a 978 low at 37.3 and 72.6. Okay. And it deepens, Joe, to a 947 just to the east of Cape Cod at 41.9 and 69.2. 947 millibars. All right. Not 987, not 977, which would be pretty cool. Okay. 947. And then it gets to a 938. There was a 938 low in the Gulf of Maine. The gradient is so tight, it'll pick up your house and blow it away. I think
938, by the way, 938 millibars is 27.70 inches of mercury. If you have a standard aneroid barometer, on your hang in your office or in your home, that it wouldn't even register. It's below what 27.7 inches. That's like a Category 4 hurricane, Joe, or
Yeah, I mean, let me pop this balloon now. Okay, I will. It's not going to be on the next run. Okay, first of all, it
well, it
ain't.
wasn't on the 12Z
That
run.
wasn't on the 12Z run. So, when these runs do this, once you start getting past day 7 and 8, as each day goes by, the models are structured so that they just over amplify. I mean, way in this case, they went beyond the scope of reality with a 938 low. Just for laughs, just for laughs, I'm going to bring up pivotal weather. I'll just see what kind of snow amounts that they put up there. I mean, it really is worth looking at. All right, so let's go.
Mark France on the chat board says it does not look even structurally correct.
No, it doesn't. That's being kind. Hang on one second. I got to look at this. Um, we could use the Kuchera or the regular. I'll use the regular. I won't use the Kuchera. Let's go to 384. Let's see what it has. Oh, I thought it would have had more. I'm disappointed now. Let me get closer. Let's do the regional map here. We'll do the Northeast. Okay. I would have thought it would have showed more than this. Oh, that's the 12Z. Okay, so that's the 12Z. And you can see where all the snow is on the 12Z run was, with over the next 16 days, it's all up where it probably is supposed to be. So now let's look at the 18Z at 384. You know what? It gives like 6 to 10 northern New Jersey to Long Island, 20, Albany 23, 20 plus inch amounts in Vermont and central New Hampshire. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not. Stop. Let's just stop right now. I'm going to go to the ensembles. Let's see how far out on the ensembles we have. Hold on a second, Joe. For some reason, when I go to the ensembles, it always switches to the 6-hour forecast. So this is the 18Z ensembles. So the 18Z ensembles have, it's the ensemble, so it's just going to be an average of however many members. So you're looking at less than an inch from New York City and Long Island south, and then you got to go up to the upper Hudson Valley and points north to get anything substantial over the next 16 days. But I want to look back at the 0Z because that's the one that goes out to 800 hours. And unfortunately, they only just started running that, so it's only out to 396. Oh, too bad. We could have seen it, take us almost to the end of December at this point.
You could always go to the 0Z from last night.
Oh, no, that's what I did. This is the 0Z from last night.
Oh.
And but, they still well, they don't populate this until like after 6 o'clock at night for that after 384 hours. The stuff that comes after 384 hours starts coming in now while we're on the air. I think we need to make a phone call to the model runner and just say, look, this is Joe Rayo and Joe Cioffi from the Joe and Joe Weather Show. You need to change the schedule of this so that we could have it for our program. Because
we have 194 people watching. Those 194 people
and 65 likes.
65 likes. So we need to instant gratification. That's what we offer here on Joe and Joe.
Yes, exactly. So I would hesitate to put up a watch at this point, based on this. But just in review, there's no major storms around, which is kind of interesting. It's pretty quiet. Again, here's the rain for Friday night into Saturday. Then, Sunday we got another thing that comes up from the south. You see the action going on in the west, and then We'll see. We'll see if subsequent runs make anything out of this thing for the middle part of next week. Again, my prediction would be that subsequent runs, if anything, will be flatter. I kind of hope this works out for me because I get snow out of this. Because I'm in the southern edge of that light blue that goes over to the Georgia North Carolina state line. If it doesn't make it to my house, all I got to do is drive 20 miles, so I could go watch it there.
Go up to Brasstown Bald.
Or I could go up to Brasstown.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll let me sit up there at 5,000 feet, but you never know. They're nice people.
Well, you could stay up here, but don't expect to be plowed out.
Well, you know what? Anytime that there's any threat of snow above 3,000 feet, they shut the road because you have to. When you approach it, it's about it's a couple of miles that you're driving up to the top. So they shut that road. And they shut the roads to Helen.
All right.
Yeah, they got those things. You know what? You go up you drive in upstate New York and in western New York, they've got the what are these, like, sort of like the crossing thing that goes down at railroad tracks.
Right.
They have them at the exit ramps to shut the exit and entrance ramps to highways off during lake effect events. They have those here when you drive into the mountains.
Okay, well, good way to keep the dum-dums, off the road.
Yes.
Because there's always somebody there who wants a thrill, so to speak.
Well, I got my 4-wheel drive truck, and I just bought new tires too. But I just had them put on yesterday, so I'm ready.
Did you give me sharing capabilities? I want to show
somebody. It's what I live for, Joe. Hold on a second. I got my new camera, so I think I look a little better. Or perhaps I look worse because now it's a HD camera, so you can see what few flaws I have. They're accentuated. Go ahead, you got it.
Okay, good. Let me. Whoops, hang on. Why can't I get? Come on. Oh, I see. You shrunk. Exit minimize version. Good. Okay.
You shrunk. I'm all right.
On your screen right now is a view of our wonderful star in the center of our solar system, the sun. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is take note of this area right here. In fact, I'll blow it up a little bit. Right here. This was a major solar flare that occurred along about 2 o'clock this afternoon. And I bring this up. Notice what happens when the flare erupts, how the general overview of the image here suddenly brightens. I mean, this was a very potent, just shy of being an X flare. They are, they're C flares and M flares. This was almost an X flare, which is the strongest type of flare that you can get. But notice its position. It is pretty much right smack in the center of the disk of the sun, which means that the subatomic particles that have been shot out of this thing are aimed right toward the Earth. And if they're moving at the pace which I think they are probably moving, they are going to arrive at the magnetic poles 20 to 40 hours after they have been ejected from the sun, which means that tomorrow night, check the sky toward the northern part of the skies, because you may very well see the northern lights. Now, we have had cases over recent weeks where, and people have written to me and say, oh, I heard there was going to be a northern lights display. And I told them no, because basically they are associated with, dark filaments on the sun or much weaker flares than what we have here. To me, this looks like a legitimate threat for a major geomagnetic storm and a possible auroral display. I tell you what, Joe, if this lives up to its full potential, I could see a aurora reaching all the way down as far south as where you are. So,
well, wasn't there one a couple of weeks ago though, that I seem to remember that they saw stuff as far south as West Virginia, Missouri. I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah, they what but the color was reddish with that one, but it also was a very faint. I mean, like the people who took long exposure photographs, it looked very impressive, but that was because it allowed the light to build up not on the film, but on whatever on the sensor, so they look bad. But if you've been outside, you say, "Oh yeah, I think I see something out there." Yeah, but I mean, like for really spectacular display, what you're seeing right now on your screen could very well fill that bill. You've got a major flare in the middle of the sun. Now, what they're waiting for, they being the folks at the Space Environment Center in Boulder, Colorado, they're waiting to see, and it won't be available probably until later tonight, whether or not we get what's called a full halo CME, a coronal mass ejection, which seems to emanate out from the entire outer rim of the sun, and is a sign that, well, I mean, like, again, this is like almost dead center of the sun, aiming right toward us. And again, it's a major eruption on the sun surface. So maybe, just maybe, you talk about trying to forecast hurricanes and tornadoes, and sometimes it works out, and other times it may not, or whatever. Same thing with space weather. For all I know, this stuff could be passing north of the Earth or below the Earth or whatever. But I'll tell you now that this certainly is something that you want to watch for, and you might want to check again if your skies are clear tomorrow night. You step outside tomorrow evening and you don't see anything. Don't give up, because later on in the night you might actually see something, and it might be something quite spectacular. I remember in 1989, I was checking the sky. It was on a night in March of 1989, and I was kind of disappointed. I said, oh well, I guess it's not going to come up to what I was hoping for. Get a phone call from somebody in in Boonton, New Jersey, 1:30 in the morning, and he says, "I think I'm seeing aurora." And I looked out the windows, and Renata and I were looking out the window, and all of a sudden it was like a nuclear explosion. All at once, the whole sky in the north just blew up with greens and blues, and we ran outside, and overhead it was red. So these things happen suddenly, quite suddenly, when they do occur. So again, tomorrow night may be a good night to look for the northern lights because of this solar eruption that took place earlier in the day. Again, generally speaking, 20 to 40 hours after they erupt, you get these. You get the chance of seeing a northern lights display, and this again could be, as they say up in the state of Maine, this could be a gooder. So we'll see how this all pans out or plays out in the hours to come.
All right. Well, I will be driving north, so up 81.
Yes.
So maybe I don't know, maybe I'll see something.
Maybe you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You need to unshare and share again, because
I have to do that?
Yeah, I don't know why it does that, but it does.
Share. Now I'm sharing my whole screen now, so I hope all of you are enjoying that. That's my.
Well,
That's my
hold on.
computer.
Okay, yeah, no, I was doing things here too. Oh, you've disappeared again. Let me see if I can get you back.
Ah,
Try it one more time.
all right. Da, da, da. No, I'm going to show you. I'm going to share you.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, you're there.
Now I see. I see. I
Oh,
see it.
okay.
No, I see a snow map.
Yeah, that's from before.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So go back full screen. Nope. Didn't want to do it.
You may have lost me.
Hold on. Let me try again.
So you want me to share one more time?
No. Yeah, for some reason it's not happening. Let me try one other way. Let's see. No, it doesn't want to. Oh, God, this is frustrating. All right, that's that. That's not it. That's not it. All right, one more time. One more time.
Right. I'm going to do it one more time.
All right, so that's that. I don't want to see Joe Rayo's screen. Exit
Can I
full
stop
screen.
sharing now, or
Yeah, go ahead, unshare.
okay? I'm unsharing.
All right, let's see if I got you. I can get you back up on the screen. Yep, there you go. The sixth or seventh time was the charm.
Yes.
All right, so we're coming up. We're at 8:30 Eastern time. I think we're going to just call it a night. And do you
Well,
have
by
a?
show you the new bell.
Oh, let me see. Yeah.
My sister got me this, and it's a replica of the bell from the movie "It's a Wonderful Life." At the end of the movie, you could see how, uh, look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings, and it makes a beautiful ringing sound, Joe.
Oh my God! Ah!
We didn't hit, and we didn't even hit 100
Oh,
tonight. We got to 85, but anyway,
that hurts.
sorry, but it's a heck of a lot better than this one,
Yeah, no,
So
that definitely the other one, but we might just hold it just a smidge away from the microphone next time.
okay,
All
I
right.
would do that anymore. I forget you have headphones, so
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you got Briller Jeopardy. We'll hold it till Sunday.
okay. Well, I'd like to say, I think on behalf of the chat board, that all of us, number one, hope that you drive safely, because you've got a long drive from where you are back up into the New York tri-state area. And again, we all
Well,
want
I'm
to.
stopping in Baltimore, so
And you're going to stop in Baltimore
yes.
and see all the Baltimoreans there.
Who watch this show Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m.
I
Eastern
know.
time?
Hey, look, I used to do the weather on
Oh
WFB,
God.
and I learned from one of the guys there, John Elder. Joe, you don't say Baltimore, you say Balmer.
Bomber.
So, but getting serious again, we all want to extend our condolences that on your mom passing away, and
Thank you.
she lived a good long life, 89 years. God love her. That we should all be so lucky.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. You lose. My father died 11 years ago, right around this. Well, he died on the 18th of November in 2012. So,
Right.
my mom also died in November. My grandfather died also in November. So November is not the best month in this family. People seem to use it to make their exits.
Well, oh, by the way, we just hit 100.
Yes, I was going to tell you.
There you go. Just wanted to do that again.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I'm probably going to have to take up death signing by the time we get off the air and I get up north. So thank you. I appreciate the kind words, and I know a number of you have expressed condolences and sent me messages, and I thank you very much. It's been it's very much it helps. It does help. So we'll see everybody on Sunday night. Hopefully, I'll have a safe. Thank you, Chris. I'll have a safe trip, and hopefully, I'll come back in one piece. There are a couple of, and I better not say it. But anyway, we'll see you all on Sunday. And Joe, you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you on Sunday night. I may see you before that.
Yeah, thank you to David Fuller, Izzy D, and Michael McGuire for hitting super chats on this cold Tuesday night.
Yes.
We'll see you on Sunday.
Nighty night.